Turning now to Indiana, where we have a new update in the Delphi double murders case against Richard Allen. Allen's defense team has filed a motion to allow the jury to view the Delphi historic trails, the crime scene, and the old abandoned CPS building where Allen allegedly parked his car the day of the murders. Now, Allen is also asking to accompany the jury for this tour of the sites, but his attorneys say he is willing to back out as long as the jury gets to go. To bring us up to speed on where we are in this case, here's Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald.
There are many dates in a lifetime that you're going to remember. One of those dates was last Friday, October 28, 2022. At that time, we had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
Richard Allen is accused of killing 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German on February 13, 2017. A key piece of evidence in the case is this video found on Libby's cell phone. The best friends were abducted while crossing the Monon High Bridge, then an abandoned railroad trestle spanning the picturesque Deer Creek. Prosecutors say Allen told an investigator days later that he'd been on the bridge that afternoon, but he hadn't seen the girls. That information was never followed up on until it caught a cold case investigator's attention in 2022, leading to Allen's arrest.
Here comes a guy that has never, ever been announced. He was nobody's radar. It was like, where did this guy come from?
Allen's defense team says he's innocent. They're blaming men they allege are white nationalists who practice Odinism and say Abby and Libby were killed in a ritualistic sacrifice. Law enforcement says there's no evidence of that. Prosecutors also say Allen confessed to the murders more than 60 times, but he was being treated for psychosis, and his attorneys say he was delusional. Richard Allen is now charged with 4 counts of murder for the deaths of Abby and Libby. He could be sentenced to more than 100 years if convicted.
Now, among the issues addressed in this motion is that the crime scene is located on private property. It previously belonged to a man named Ron Logan, but he has since passed, and it's now owned by his only son. Also, the south end of the bridge where the alleged abduction happened is also on private property and difficult to access without the aid of a property owner. What's interesting, too, it's been renovated quite a bit, so it looks a little bit different from when the crime happened. Court TV Crime and Justice correspondent Matt Johnson actually visited that bridge, and he gives us a closer look at what the jury view would look like. He also spoke with people living in that community around the time of Allen's arrest in 2022. Take a look.
So we're at about the halfway point of the Monon High Bridge here behind me in Delphi, Indiana. You can see I'm standing on a part that is rebuilt, looks completely different than the area that leads over to private property. About this area right here, that's where that Snapchat photo was taken, where Libby takes a picture of her friend Abby. The 2 girls, they were heading down the bridge south over to private property, and that's where the abduction happened. What's the mood like in the community with the news?
Yeah, I think it's mainly relief. I mean, I think what's going to come from it is going to be quite concerning because obviously deep down you hope it wasn't somebody local, and obviously we're hearing it was somebody local, and that's going to have a lot of repercussions throughout the community.
Every time I travel from Logansport to Lafayette, I pass under the Freedom Bridge, I always say a prayer that they find out who did this to those little girls. And everything is, today is the day. Today is the day.
What brought you out here today, though?
They caught that creep, so now I can come here and enjoy the outdoors. We like to hike all the parks around us.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for the community here and everywhere.
All right, let's bring in our guest still with us to discuss. Former prosecutor and defense attorney David Bruno, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Arenberg. David Bruno, I'll start with you. Again, we heard there the defense is asking for this jury to be taken on a jury view of 3 different areas. part of the plan, I would imagine, is as part of their defense, they've been arguing that, look, this had to have been done by more than one person because of the distances between the areas where this crime took place. So that may be part of the thinking. But jury views are not that common. Courts don't grant them very often. We saw it in OJ, of course. We saw it in, for instance, the Parkland murders, but not always granted. What do you think the chances are that'll happen in this case?
I think so. I think it's decent. And I say that because of the circumstantial nature of how they pieced it together. We know from the affidavit of probable cause that they had the vehicle parked across the street by a vacant building. And that's one of the areas that the defense attorney wants to see with the jury. In addition, the different layout and how he would have gotten from the car to the potential crime scene, I think is a point of emphasis for the defense. One thing that does concern me is that things may have changed. And if things have changed, well, then that's a great objection to viewing the scene, because then it would be prejudicial and it wouldn't be as probative as the defense wants it. So I think there is a shot that the defense gets what they want here.
All right, so Dave Arenberg, if in fact they do get it, they're also asking that Richard Allen be brought along. Now, we know there are issues. You see the way they sort of cart him back and forth to court. They think, you know, folks might try to kill him. Security is an issue. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's less likely that he'd be allowed to be there. In fact, the defense doesn't seem to push too hard. They just want the jury to be there. I agree with David. I think this could be granted. And by the way, as an aside, it's great to be on with David. And what a great background he has. It looks like an upscale cigar room in a steakhouse, you know, so kudos to him. But I do think that the judge probably grants the viewing. But be careful what you ask for. Remember, in the Murdoch case, the jurors went there because the defense said you have to see that it's such a far distance. There's no way the defendant could have committed this crime. Then they showed up. They're like, not really. I could see it. And that's something that could happen here. So the defense is grasping at straws, and it may backfire in their face.
Yeah, they may in fact be grasping at straws. David Bruno, that leads me to the question regarding some of the rulings that we've seen in the case in the defense itself. I mean, they had been going pretty strong down this path that this was done by more than one person. That can still stick around. But the idea that these other people were involved in this cult of Odinism, well, the judge has decided they can't go down that route. How much do you think that affects their approach to the case?
Oh, that's what they were going off of. I mean, look, I was real surprised, too, hearing about the staging of the bodies. I mean, it is fascinating to me that is facts in the case that the prosecutor is going to have, and then also cut the defense off on that particular defense. Now, I wonder, I don't think that was the smartest, honestly, because why? Because that is going to be an issue on appeal. I mean, they are cutting off, the court is cutting off the defense of the defendant. And there's problems with the state's case, too. Let's not forget, we all also learned about a lot of the pre-trial interviews, those early interviews that were done by all of the witnesses and the hikers, because really it was a circumstantial case put together by piecemealing times of the vehicle being parked versus some of the statements of people seeing the man with that outfit. So it will be fascinating to hear about this case, considering that a lot of those statements have been purged and the defense can't get them anymore. Talk about due process.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I agree. I think that's certainly a real appealable issue. Remember, they brought in an expert from a local college, who's not a local college, but an expert in the area of Odinism, who said she was certain that what she was seeing in the picture was sort of representative of Odinism rituals. So I don't understand what else Judge Gull needed to see.